Good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Dominance Academy. I'm your host, Mr. Justin. I'm just getting over some illness. I had a pretty terrible cold last few days, so bear with me if my voice goes out or I have to pause to cough up some fucking phlegm. But here we are. So hope everybody's doing well, even though I'm not. And got my vitamin C drink. Yeah. Fall equinox is my favorite time of year. Get to wear hats and hoodies and sweaters. Going hiking this weekend. See some waterfalls, so that's going to be good. So tonight we've got a good show. Once again, the topic about women and their promiscuity has circled back around and become a popular topic in the circles that I'm in. And let me know, actually, guys who are watching, let me know if my mic audio is okay, if it's loud enough. I'll adjust it when necessary. All right, there we go. So yeah, promiscuity. So I decided to go onto Reddit. I'm falling in love again with Reddit. It's sort of like Clubhouse, but in text form, where people can anonymously put in their 2 cents. And I love the fact that it's anonymous, because then people just say really whatever's on their mind. So this person writes in, and I think it's a woman, but I can't tell. But anyways, so why do you think men care about women's body count? And they say, hello, everyone. I just wanted to have a discussion on why men care about women's body count. Lately, I've been seeing videos on social media of men discussing women's body count and why it matters to them. The only logical reason why I think anyone will care about someone's body count is because of STDs. If you're going around and having multiple sex partners, then the only thing I would care about is if the person used protection and if they get tested regularly for STDs. The main reason why men say they care about a woman's body count is because if a woman has slept with so many men, such as 100 men, 50 men, or 20 men, then the purity in her is gone, and they will not wife up the woman. Most men say they prefer a woman who has a body count of 3, but most men say they want a virgin, which is totally impossible, by the way. If a man ever asked me what my body count was, I would tell him, and I would lie to him and tell him 50 just to make him angry. If any man asks a woman what her body count is, that man is the wrong man, and no woman should talk to him or take him seriously. I feel like there's something deeper as to why men care about women's body count. So why do you think men care about women's body count? Let me know your thoughts. And yeah, for sure, this is something that girls like. I think some understand it from regular guys' perspective, and some really don't. They're just like, I understand. It's just sex, right? And it's hard for them to really see it from their average male's perspective. Okay, and this first reply here, he said, it's not about purity. That's just something they say to put blame on women. They don't like their performance in bed being compared to other men. It's their insecurity that makes it important to them. Such as, am I big enough? Can I last long enough? Was her last boyfriend better than me in bed? Is she secretly laughing at my performance? What does she tell her friends about me? And I would say that this is a fairly accurate portrayal of what men are really bothered about, right? Because think about it. Let's just say that these are the real reasons, right? Having is he sizable enough? Is his performance and his skill good enough? What's she going to say to her friends? Is his performance good? Does he give her pleasure? I think essentially most guys would love to be the best she's ever had. And I think because most guys don't have the feedback, right? It mostly due to not having enough experience, that they don't know if they're good or really good, or like where on the scale of good that they fall on. And here's the thing: when you're good in bed, you know you're good in bed. Like, you don't have to blow yourself up. You don't have to lie to yourself. Like, it's very apparent to the self whether you are good in bed or not. So let's see, like, strong indicators. If girls are calling you back after you have sex with them, if you have to like put distance between yourself and them in the form of like my client, okay? He read my book. He started putting things into action. If you want to know about how to get my book, just go onto the website that's linked in the description of this video and pick up a copy. But he did, and he started implementing these skills in that book. And this girl that he slept with is just berating him. Well, no, I'm sorry, that's the wrong word. She's bombarding him. That's the word I was looking for. She's bombarding him with messages throughout the day. Like, hey, what's going on? Like, just dumb shit, right? Because she has this charge up of like, holy crap, I felt so good with this guy. And she's now hounding him to get more of his time and energy. Okay. And so he had to like put up barriers and things of that nature, or boundaries, and say, hey, listen, like, I'm working. I can't respond to all of your messages. You know, I will be in touch with you at 7 p.m. and something along those lines. So like, basically, if a woman is bombarding you with a lot of messages after you have sex with her, that's a strong indicator. Basically just having to like scrape her off with a rake, you know, that's a good sign. Okay. Because the fact of the matter is, and like, why is that? Like, why would a woman respond that way? Okay. Well, the thing is that women's sex is a lot different than sex for guys. Okay. Sex for guys is, for the most part, purely physical and localized. Okay. So like, when you have an orgasm, you don't feel it like in your hands. You don't feel it in your face or your scalp, or your toes, right? It's fairly localized to like the pubic region. All right. Women, when they have an orgasm, when they have a really good orgasm with someone who knows what they're doing, right? And I'm not talking just physical skill. I'm talking about emotional skill, mental skill, and for some people, spiritual skill. She then becomes transported to like another fucking dimension. Okay. And the fact of the matter is that because of the reality that a lot of guys do not have a lot of experience to then and understanding, because you could have a lot of experience and have no understanding. Like, you just fuck, right? Like, let's say you're just like a really good looking guy, you're a little bit charming, and you just fuck for your own pleasure and never really understanding how to give pleasure. There's those guys. But so experience doesn't necessarily mean knowledge or wisdom. So, but, you know, for the most part, guys just don't have a lot of experience. So their skill isn't very high. And women, because of their ability to acquire sex a lot easier than guys do, they can then have more experience to then determine what's good and what's bad, right? It's like, if you have one cheeseburger in your whole life, and that's your one sample size, that's not much to go off of. But if you go all around your city and you map out all the burger joints and you test out all the burgers and then make little notes about each one, you'll then have a better understanding of what a hamburger is supposed to taste like, you know, or if we did like a more sophisticated dish. But regardless, the point still stands that the more exposure you have and the more mental note you make, over the experience that you have over this sort of thing, then your palate grows, and you can then have a better understanding of what's good and what's bad. And guys just don't have this. And so it's difficult for them to have that feedback. So for those guys that don't have the experience, they don't know. They're where they are on like the scale of good and bad is vague. It's quite vague to them. Okay. Let me just change this. So basically, women, when they have really good sex, it's very apparent to them, right? Because such a full body, a full self can change, a full self experience can occur, and then that gives them indication of like, okay, this guy knows what the fuck he's doing. And that's why when they experience this, they're bombarding this guy to get more of what he has. Okay. Because sex for women isn't just what happens to their body. Okay. Sex for them is much wider spread. Okay. Feeling sexy, feeling aroused. All right. Like for the most part, guys feeling sexy and feeling aroused has just very much of what's happening to their body, like in that moment. Okay. But for women, you can engage them in so many other ways, in very deep ways, that can take them into sexual places, like without being touched or before being touched, and it can really affect their perception, their moods, like everything. Okay. So like, again, like my client, he had to put up boundaries. So this is a good indicator, right? If you just can't get her off your back. So if you've never had a woman like, calling you back, like, hey, are you free next weekend? That sort of thing. Like, you might not be that good in bed. Okay. In which case you should buy my book. So I don't know why that song's not playing. Oh, there we go. So yeah, let's go back to this list here. Yeah, am I big enough? Can I last long enough? Performance shit, right? And you guys, I think deep in your heart, like, you would like to be her best. Okay. Like, I don't, like, what guy doesn't want to be the best that she's ever had? All right. But the thing is that when you think in these terms, and it's like a perfectly normal thing to be thinking and feeling. All right. But because, like, who wants to be second best or third or fourth? Like, I mean, some guys just don't really give a fuck as long as they're getting theirs. And those are the worst lovers, right? But they don't care about getting callbacks. Like, just like, fuck it. Why would I care? Like, as long as I get mine, I don't give a fuck. I can fuck her once. I don't care if I see her again, right? And there could be a bit of an ego flex there for guys who have women calling them back repeatedly, wanting more of their sexual experience. But so that's that I can recognize. But I think guys want to be the best. They want to be her best. And when they know that she's had a lot of partners, that leaves a lot of room to ask the question, well, am I? All right. And this ultimately is a dangerous trap to fall into, because here you are thinking about other men. All right. Now, I'm not saying that this is like a gay thing or whatever, but basically you're taking a percentage of what you should be thinking about and thinking about other men. And it's not exactly any specific men. Okay. It's not like you know who any of the people are. I mean, for the most part, guys don't know who the guys are that women have slept with. So essentially, these guys that they're thinking about, they're phantoms. They're apparitions in their mind. And so essentially it's their own mind fighting against their own mind, right? Because these aren't real men. They're caricatures in their imagination. And because there's a gap in data, there's a gap in information. So the mind naturally wants to fill in the blanks, right? That's actually, like, fun fact, that's how we read comics, right? One frame to the next, they're not related. Our brain makes up the gap in between. That's how we can read a story in comics, by piecing together the frames. And in fact, I knew this girl in college who, there was something with her mind. I can't remember what it was called, but she lacked the ability to piece together those images. So when she looked at a comic, she could not parse together not parse out, but like to put together the story by looking at the frames. To her, they were all unrelated. It was very weird. Okay, so going on with the other people answering this person says 3 reasons. Insecurity. What if number 7 was better than me? Power. Okay, especially if she's a virgin, ergo she's going to be completely attached to me, so she'll basically do whatever I want to make her whatever I want to make me stay. And a misunderstanding of the female body. It's going to be like throwing a hot dog down a hallway. That's a good one. That's very high school. I don't foresee any grown men making this sort of claim, like, oh man, if a woman's gotten around, it's like throwing a hot dog down a hallway. Maybe here and there, but I mean, come on, like, really? The female vaginal canal is designed to pass a baby's head the size of a mango. Okay, the biggest dick on earth does not have the same girth as a mango, right? Not even close. So actually that's not true. There's this guy in Germany, but he's not natural. Like he injects his dick with synthol. There's an interview with him, and it's this dude in Germany, and he's just like obsessed. He has like this fetish for like big dick, and he regularly injects his dick, and his like, from what it seems like, because you don't get any shots of it, it's all like blurred out or something, and he has like a custom made like leather pouch that he like puts his whole dick in. I think that he wouldn't be able to stuff it into a pickle jar. Like, that's how thick the girth is. So this guy's not even having sex. There's no way that he can have sex. I don't even think he can get hard anymore. Like, that's how far he's taken this fetish. But anyways, so the vaginal canal is designed to be elastic, okay? Because it's made to pass a human child, okay? So any dick, like, no matter how many dicks, it's not going to stretch it beyond that capacity to then leave it overstretched, all right? It's just not going to happen. So a woman who is very promiscuous is not going to, have some, destroyed pussy or something like that. It doesn't work that way. All right. It's very elastic, and it's designed to be elastic, and no dick is ever going to, mangle her pussy. This might come from not seeing enough vulvas, and then like coming across a woman who has, like, say, larger labia minora. Okay, so like the labia majora, the lips on the outside, right? The big fluffy ones, and then the smaller ones on the inside, that's the labia minora. And some women have larger labia minora, and that's just genetics, right? And if you do like a Google search, like, there's been people who've like kind of put together a bunch of pictures of different vaginas. And if your exposure to looking at vaginas is porn, that's going to be a little skewed, right? Because they choose women who have naturally, like, quote unquote, pretty vaginas. And a lot of women get surgeries and things like that to make them so-called pretty. So that's not a very good measure, right? So I remember seeing like this image where it's like a bunch of images, maybe like 30 little squares, and each picture was a different vagina, and they all look different. And And it's just a genetic thing, right? Just like all dicks look different, all like hands look different, all knees look different, like everything's different. Okay. And so I think this idea comes across like guys who come across a woman who has, say, like larger labia and thinking, oh my gosh, she's stretched out, right? She's like a fucking Arby's sandwich. And that's just not the case. Okay. So yes, misunderstanding of the female body. Power, that's something that I think, if I could be honest, I would say that is a true portrayal. I would say that there are guys who they like the idea that a woman has no idea what she's getting herself into, that she is unexposed, like you're the only dick she's ever had, and therefore she has nothing to compare it to. So you're the hero by default, right? You could be terrible, like on a scale of 1 to 10, you could be like a 1.5, and she should be, what is it, like none the wiser. Okay, she'd be none the wiser that you're actually kind of shitty and you don't know what you're doing. But she's like, yeah, like she doesn't even know that orgasms exist, right? Or like what they feel like. Maybe she's heard about them and thinks she's having them, but she's not. And like, so like pretty good seems awesome. Okay. Like if you've never had, like, I'm thinking about burgers, man. Like if you've never had a burger in your life and someone gives you like a basic like kids meal cheeseburger from McDonald's, you're going to think it's fucking incredible. Right? And if you've ever had like really good burgers, you'd know that it's complete garbage, right? Yeah, so I think that this plays into the fantasy of the guy who wants to be the hero. And the thing is that the only guys who are really wanting this idea of power is when you are essentially weak. Okay, you want someone who has less prowess than you do. All right, so if you're pretty low on the prowess totem pole, in order to feel powerful, you must have someone who has less power than you. And in this example, it's experience, it's sexual experience. So in doing so, the guy becomes the hero. And, and it's like, I don't know, it's trying to find the cheat code, right? I know it's ideal for like a lot of people, but I think it's like searching for the cheat code. And, guys who are good with women, like they're not thinking about this stuff. They really don't think about anybody else but themselves, right? And it's just a shameful reality that there's guys who get lots of play, there's guys who get a moderate amount of play, and there's guys who get very little to no play. And that's just fucking life, okay? However, you can improve. All right, that's why I'm here. This person says, I identify as bisexual and primarily date women. With women, the topic only comes up in regard to sexual health. With men, it seems to come from control and insecurity. I also find timing curious because body count is becoming a mainstream concern for men while their reproductive freedoms are under attack. Blech. Okay. They don't like competition, sexism, ownership, patriarchal ideas that are having a resurgence in popularity due to social media, hyper-specific Christianity cults, creepy famous people, etc. Okay. They want to feel like they've conquered a woman is my consensus. If a woman has a high body count, then in their eyes, she is easy and worth less for their ego. They're okay with a woman being easy, though, as long as it's for their own gain and not other men's. That's a really interesting point right there. Okay, and this is a logical problem that I've seen with guys. Okay, so bear with me. On one side of what comes out of a lot of guys' mouths is, I want a woman to sleep with me on the first date. Or I want a woman to at least sleep with me within the first 3 dates. And if it doesn't it doesn't happen, then she's not interested in me. Then in other conversations, those same guys will say, I don't like promiscuous women. I don't want to be with a promiscuous woman, or I don't want to marry a promiscuous woman. It's like, okay, so let's say you take a population of women and a population of men. And let's say these women do get with these guys very quickly. Okay. That's going to quickly reduce the number of women who are marriageable according to these guys' whims. Yet they're contributing to it. So how can one complain about something that you are actively contributing to? Like, that's like complaining about gun violence and you regularly shoot people. Like, what the fuck? You can't have it both ways. So yeah, I agree with this this comment that they're okay with being easy, though, as long as it's for their own gain and not for other men. But if all men are thinking that way, then what's the result? It seems really, it's problematic. But yeah, that's conflicting logic. There's also a long history of women's virginity being quite literally sold off to the highest bidder. Yep, that's true. Virginity has only recently stopped being seen as a sign of virtue by the majority of people, at least in younger generations. But part of women's value is still largely connected to their virginity or their body count to a lot of men. We live in a patriarchal society after all. Okay. I can honestly say I've never been asked. Okay. When I was in my 20s, dudes didn't ask this or really care. If a man asks you this, it's 100% so he can judge you for whatever answer you give. He already doesn't respect you, so why not lie? Yep. And, yep, that's true. But yeah, I think that, like, again, I think it has a lot to do with power. Feel like they've conquered a woman, right? And this is the thing, like, so the more experience you have with women, you come to understand, or at least I hope you do, that it's not a purely physical thing for them. All right. And what this does, okay, so, all right, hang on, let me back up. Prior to that, your understanding of sex is through your own experience. Like, that's all you know. All right. And you can't really experience the way sex that women get. So all you know is what you experience. Okay. And then this gets projected. All right. So the physical conquering, or the conquering is purely physical, right? They don't realize that actually conquering a woman comes from her mind. It comes from her heart. And then her body, like a zombie, just follows right along. Okay? That was my zombie walk. It just follows right along. Okay? My Kung Fu teacher, he told me, wherever the mind goes, the body follows. And that's especially true when it comes to women's sexuality. You capture her mind, her body comes right along with it. It's almost like she can't even resist. It goes into a trance. And same with her heart. So let me just check this. Sorry. Yeah. My girl bought the wrong creamer. And she knows it's the wrong creamer. But it's because she was lazy and went to the or she was being lazy at the moment, and went to the store that's closer that does not have the one that I like, and she bought a different one, slightly different, and I told her that she's in trouble, but it's not real trouble, so she's like looking forward to having a spanking over it. It's gonna be kind of funny, giving her a bit of a lecture, like, what creamer that I like, So why did you get this one? Why? The fun things you can do. The fun things you can do in relationships. But anyway, so I was saying that once you capture a woman's mind, I mean, in that right there, right? It's like I've already captured my girl's mind. So now I can go in different places. Like I was playfully being upset with her, right? It was just kidding around, right? And she walked into that kidding around. Now I could have actually turned up the pressure if I wanted to, and I'd be like, no, I'm actually not joking at all. And then that would completely shift her mental space, which would drop her more into her submission, and she'd be feeling something much more impactful, like, oh shit, like he's not kidding, he's really like kind of upset with me. And then that feeling would course throughout her entire body. Okay. And then I can take that feeling and weave it into the direction I want, right? And then I tell her, listen, it'll be okay. You can make it up to me. Or I'll have to teach you a lesson, right? Oh, what is that? Oh, now it can be a whole host of things, right? Oh, well, we're going to use the extra large butt plug, and you're going to walk nice and slow to the proper store and get the proper creamer, and then walk back nice and slow, right? And it's like the solid metal, like weighted one, so it's like gravity's like pulling down. There's like so many things, right? So, but the point is that when you capture the mind, the body follows. All right. But for guys who don't have a lot of experience, they're just, they're so stuck in thinking that this is just physical. This is not just physical stuff for women. It's much deeper than that. Let me check your, yeah. What's up, guys, in the chat and watching? Salute to you guys. Appreciate you. Uncle Guns, as always, thank you for posting the links. Appreciate you, man. Shout out to you guys. Okay, so yeah, let's look at these stupid-ass comments. A high body count affects men and women value as partner, not just women. Arf. That's somebody who definitely does not get laid. As someone in their 30s, I really don't care what their body count is over the length of a lifetime. People have phases of their life, blah, blah, blah. I want to hear somebody who's got like real... Oh, this guy said something along the lines of like, nearly everything a man does in his life is to get laid. And this person says, this is so wildly insulting, I don't know where to start. Almost nothing I've done in my life was to get laid. If you lower your standards far enough, no matter what those standards are, most men can get laid with little effort. I think that's diluted. I think a lot of guys actually have a lot of difficulty getting laid. It shows in the stats. The irony of these takes is that these men want women with small or no body counts and marry them, only to realize that they don't like sex that much and then complain about their sex life. If you like having sex, get a woman that likes having sex too. If you want low body count, then just accept you aren't going to have a great sex life. No. Guys, if you have a shitty sex life, it's because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You lack knowledge. You lack skill. Okay. Now you're likely never going to be perfect. Okay. But that's the joy of it. That's like saying like you're never going to be a perfect painter or a perfect singer. But that's the great side of it, right? The great side of it is that it's an ongoing creative practice that you can put energy towards to get better and better at. Okay. Just like any other creative exercise. Actually, I think if you look at sex as not something to receive pleasure, but something to create with, this will change your mindset. If you see sex as a creative venture, then it will change your mindset about the whole thing, right? It'll put you in the seat of like, okay, I'm in control here to a certain degree. What would I like to create? All right, I think it's very, very beneficial to think of sex in this way. Let's see what these person says. They feel right. They don't feel like they conquered a woman because they're shallow and worried about being compared to previous partners, or the worst, don't want to have sex with a woman who is quote unquote used. Oh yeah, that goes right back to that stupid fucking red pill quote. What is it? Oh geez, about the lock and the key, right? A key that can open many locks is a master key. A lock that is opened by many keys is a shitty lock. And this, again, is coming from the mindset of physicality. It's basically saying like the key is a dick and the lock is a pussy. Okay? Women's sex has only a small percentage to do with their pussy. Only a small percentage. The vast majority, get it into your heads, guys. The vast majority of their sex happens in their mind. And I know it's hard to understand because we just don't think that way. We don't experience sex this way. Just trust me on this, okay? Like there's a reason why women love to fantasize. There's a reason why women don't need porn. They read porn, right? Like romance and erotica and things like that. But they don't need to watch porn. Some like it, for sure. But it's all about how they feel. They can do even better with just their imagination. Just their imagination and squeezing a pillow between their legs. And they get transported off to some other distant land. All right? Like with some crazy shit. All right? Crazy fantasies. Like, I don't know, a while back, what was my girl telling me about? She was fantasizing. She has fantasy. Like I let her masturbate and she told me her fantasy. And she said, this is one of my favorites. And it was her being dominated by a woman. And in the fantasy, my girl had like very like large swollen pregnancy breasts, like swollen with milk. And the dominatrix was behind her and like milking her and like squeezing the milk out of her tits and like making my girl, she was like feeling like some shame, embarrassment, discomfort, while like milk was like squirting all over I think it was like in a bathroom or something, or just like all over the wall or mirror or something along those lines. I don't remember exactly. But this was her fantasy. Like it had nothing to do with dicks. It was all about the feeling that was evoked through this thought. And to think like that's weird. It's actually not. Women think of all kinds of crazy shit that it would make most of your guys' balls like slide up into your pelvis. Okay. But my point is that it happens in their mind. Okay. What do these guys say? Can we stop calling it body count? Yeah, I don't like that either because this is really attributed to death, right? Like how many deaths someone has had. Excuse me, or committed or something like that. I think it's like an assassin thing or military thing, like body count. But if we stop calling it, then we can't make it into a joke about how many people we've killed. Haha. Okay. A lot of it is insecurity, control. All right. Ownership of an object, power and control of an inferior being, knowing exactly how you should have lived your life before he chose you for sex. Knowing exactly how you should have lived your life before he chose you for sex. Your logical reason is the only kind and caring excuse. We should all take steps to stop the spread of STDs, but look how hard it was to get folks to wear N95 masks and get vaccinated. Blah. Okay, so aside from that pile of rubbish, yes, ownership of an object, power and control of an inferior being. The funny thing is, right? It's funny. Like a lot of these things that on the surface they're bad, but like when you put them forth, they're not so bad, depending on the context. Because in my experience, women do like feeling owned. they do like feeling objectified. I mean, they also like feeling seen and heard and treasured and all that stuff, but there's many facets to a woman's erotic mind, okay? And the totality of her emotions. So part of that, a slice of that is ownership, right? Like my girl loves it when I tell her, you belong to me. And she'll straight up tell me, I belong to you. And I'll tell her, you're mine. Right? And she'll say, I'm yours. And not in a romantic sense, like in an objectified sense. And, power and control of an inferior being. Truth be told, a lot of girls, they like to have this feeling of inferiority. And it's not in like a general context or as it relates to society or anything like that. It's more so to do with how she feels with relation to the guy that she's really into, right? And the thing is, this is a caveat, that the safer she feels with you, the more likely she is to allow this feeling to occur, to allow the feeling of objectification, to allow the feeling of lesser than, because what that is associated with is trust and vulnerability, right? It's like a dog. Like you ever see like dogs playing around the dog park, and one of them, like kind of rolls on its back and exposes his belly, and it's basically saying, "Hey, I understand you're a bigger, stronger, more alpha dog than me. It's cool, you got it, right?" Like it for a woman to do this, right, emotionally and mentally, because physically, like, yeah, a woman can give you her body and be vulnerable with her body, but not be vulnerable with her mind or heart. Okay. So I'm saying for a woman to be vulnerable of her mind and heart in the sense of like a dog rolling on its back and exposing its belly, it requires a lot of trust. Okay. A lot of trust in order to get into that state. And that state, once they feel safe, it's now safe to allow herself to feel small, to allow herself to feel like an owned object, to allow herself to feel that kind of vulnerability, right? Because it's exposing. It's just the nature of the word vulnerability. It means you're susceptible to danger of some kind, right? Depending on the type of vulnerability. So yeah, the women can be okay with being there, right? It's just on the surface, it sounds really bad, right? But, trust that they're not really, it's not a total thing when they say like, oh, I don't want to be objectified. Like, yeah, actually they kind of do. But anyways, what's this? Okay. So, yeah. Oh, quick little announcement. I'm still searching for 24/7 DS couples. Okay. So anyone watching this, if you are a couple and you live in a 24/7 BDSM or DS relationship, preferably together, like in the same home, get in touch with me. I'm looking for couples to interview. So I've got a couple on the line. I'm chatting with them in Instagram, and hopefully that works out. But I really want to interview more couples so that people can see what a 24/7 DS relationship looks like on the day-to-day. Because, frankly, there's just a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of people having certain beliefs about, what we do and what it's like, especially like around, like what the man does and what the woman does, and a lot of negative stereotypes. And I think that it would help, with these interviews, it would help for people to understand that they have regular lives, right? There's just this very strong mental element that's typically not present in other relationships. All right, so let's look at these things here. This person said, a while ago, I slept with a guy that literally praised my skills in bed. And as soon as he came, he looked disturbed by my skills, as in how much practice did I have in order to be so good. I should also add that he had a tiny penis, and my skills with small dicks is the primary reason why we both climaxed that night. And then he broke. I don't understand skills. Are there special skills for small dicks that you can't apply to bigger dicks, and vice versa? I don't understand. Okay. And then he broke up with me when I called him on some other shitty behavior. He knew I was experienced enough to A, know he was small, B, would not tolerate shitty behavior. If I laid there like a starfish and made him believe his small member was massive and so wonderful, I'm pretty sure he would still be interested. So in conclusion, insecure men only care about your previous experience because they are unsure how they measure up. Or even worse, if they know they are selfish and trash in bed, have no desire to improve, and are looking for a woman that is too inexperienced to know that she can do better. As a loud and proud hoe with more than a few notches on my bedpost, the best partners' lovers have never asked me about the men before them. As long as we were safe, they were just happy to have a partner that was just as excited and enthusiastic about sex as they were. That's a really poignant thing to mention. She said the best partners, the best lovers she's been with, have never asked her about her experience. They were just there to enjoy the experience, right? They were focused in the present moment. And this is a thing that guys who have issues with women, aka issues with themselves, they find themselves trapped in their own heads quite a lot. They overthink a lot of shit. And dudes who are, decent with women and sociable and grounded and all that good shit, they're not stuck in their heads. Okay? They're very present. They're present where they are. If you're thinking about this phantom past of another person, you're not present, right? Your mind is someplace else. And how can you truly, be in the experience as a man and do that? You really can't. All right, another one here: stupidity and insecurity. Even calling it a body count is just gross. My partner, now my wife, each got an STI screening. Was done just before sleeping together, and after that, the past is just that. Sexual performance, anxiety, insecurities. People will say it's about purity and a bunch of nonsense, but really it's because we're hoping y'all haven't had a lot to compare us to. It doesn't help that most of the other penises men have seen are 12 inches porn donkey dicks. 12-inch porn donkey dicks. Yeah. Yeah, for you guys that like to watch porn, you've seen a lot of dicks. Just saying. And just a little fun fact, you enjoy watching other men screw a woman that you'd rather be fucking. So watching porn is actually cuck behavior for all you guys that like to throw around the cuck term at other guys. If you watch porn, you are a cuck. Or at the very least, you have a voyeurism kink. And, if it's a voyeurism kink, that's fine. I'm not here to kink shame. And this last person here says, I think it's because people want to shame women who have sexual independence and who don't follow the wait till you're married to do it expectations. I remember an old lady teacher back in high school who compared a woman, and she only ever mentioned this about women, never men, who has had multiple sexual partners as something gross, which appalled me even then as a 13, 14-year-old in her class. It was then I think I realized it was all about shame. Yeah, and what is it, guys? Seriously. Some relish in the feeling of simply feeling safe enough to be relieved of self-will and thought through surrender. Yes, that's absolutely it. There is tremendous freedom. Like what you said, relieved. You have no idea how like the smoke that the hamster wheel in a woman's head can produce. Like it's like burning out tires, like on my drifting game. But yeah, I think it's a lot of it's shame involved, a lot of shame, and the thing is that when you can't control someone with your body, right? Like you can't just like grab someone and cuff them or throw them in a cage or what have you. And honestly, if we didn't have certain laws, I think we'd be seeing more of this stuff from guys who just like can't get women and they like rage out. I think this would happen. And, obviously that's not good. So this sort of behavior is illegal. So the only thing left to try to control a woman, understand, women that aren't choosing these guys, the only recourse they have is shame and trying to logically browbeat them into submission, right? By saying, well, look at this, look at these stats, right? Like this guy, he posted a number of stats. Number of sex partners. Greater number of sex partners before marriage predicts infidelity. As might be expected, attitudes towards infidelity, specifically permissive attitudes towards sex, most generally, and greater willingness to have casual sex and engage in sex without closeness, commitment, or love, i.e. a more unrestricted socio-sexual orientation, are also reliably related to infidelity. And this guy actually did a lot of research and posted links and stuff. The dude who put this together with all these links clearly does not get laid. Like he's not being chosen, right? Like guys who are fucking don't care about this stuff. It's only the dudes who are not found attractive. Okay. It's like, instead of putting energy here, why don't you just work on being more attractive and less unattractive? Pretty easy, right? But it's actually easier to just complain and find shit on the internet to like browbeat women into submission. And right, so infidelity within relationships, within marriage, and they say, well, greater number of sex partners before marriage predicts infidelity. And I would argue back, like if you could like rewind back to what I was saying about, most men and their experience. If most men don't have a whole lot of experience and high sexual prowess, this means that they can't ensnare a woman, right? And but I mean ensnare or entrance a woman in her mind, her heart, and her body. That means that if she's got this, this experience, she'll know that he's a fucking dud. And then, yes, infidelity can happen. So, I mean, yes, you could avoid that by saying, well, if women weren't out there getting all this experience, she would know that I suck. And it's like, well, like fucking grow up, okay? Like get your head out of your ass. We're never going to be able to turn back time. Never. All right? Like, stop judging and get out there. Talk to lots of women, right? If you're unattractive, make yourself a little bit more attractive. Like, you have to, until you get good, okay? Here's the thing. And this is with anything. No matter what, if you're trying to be a boxer, you're trying to be a fucking painter, you're trying to be, like the best fucking bagel maker in town, until you're up in the upper echelons of skill, you're going to have to compete. You're going to have to scrap it out against those that are also trying to do the same thing as you. And if your balls aren't big enough to handle that, then step aside. Because there are guys who are willing to compete. But here's the thing. When you get up to like a certain understanding with yourself, a certain level of experience, you can then relax. And you're like, all right, I'm good, right? I no longer have to scrape and claw my way through. I can take a breath. I can relax now. Okay. Because I know what I can do. I know the impact that I have over a woman. All right. And I can chill. Okay. Now you're the experienced swordsman. You don't have to get into a ton of battles to prove yourself, to hone your skills. You got it. You're at a good place. Now, it doesn't mean you stop growing. It just means you're at a good place where you're no longer at the level of biting and clawing your way up. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, like I was talking about, like with my client, when that girl just like would not shut up, like was sending him messages like all throughout the day. Like seriously, she would send him like 25, 30 messages in one day. This occurs when you're fucking good in bed. Okay. So we're looking at like infidelity. We're looking at divorce and things like that. I guarantee you, these women are not getting fucked well. And when I say women getting fucked well, I mean their body, their mind, and their heart. Women, because this sexual prowess is rare, they're not going to give it up so easily. That's the thing. And if most guys are also getting married, and most guys are sexually inexperienced, if most guys don't have influence, if most guys don't know how to fuck in the way that I'm talking about, is it any wonder women are going, shit, like, what am I doing? Right? Kids are grown, okay? And Chad from accounting, he's got it going on. He's giving me those feels. He's making my little pussy jump. Love making a woman's pussy jump. Anyways. So, what other bullshit facts? Individuals exhibiting sexually permissive attitudes and those who have a high number of past sexual relationships are more likely to engage in infidelity. For lifetime sexual partners obtained with the face-to-face mode of interview indicates that the probability of infidelity increased by 13% for every additional lifetime sexual partner. Wow. Okay. So 13% for each additional lifetime sexual partner. So let's look at that. Like, so if we did 13% by 10, is my math wrong? Would that be 130% or does it compound? Well, if it was 13, it was the way I'm thinking, 130%. With just 10 partners, that's crazy. Okay. Promiscuity is a good predictor of infidelity. But yeah, like I said, all this shit comes from dealing with just regular guys. So if you want to avoid this, you have two choices. You could either avoid women, which is totally fine, but you're going to be unsatisfied, I promise you. Or you can get good at fucking. You can develop your mind. You can learn how to be influential. You can learn to get in women's heads and turn them on. It's actually quite enjoyable. In fact, nowadays, I find more enjoyment from getting into a woman's head than getting into her body. It's kind of like playing chess. Like, if you ever see like really good chess players, they know the game is done. Like the loser knows the game is done like 5, 6, 7 moves before the checkmate even happens. And they're looking at the board and they're like going through all the possibilities in their head and going, yeah, actually, I'm done. And they just knock over their king. Like, there's no sense in going any further. Okay? That's where I like to be. I like to be 7 moves ahead, knowing that I've got checkmate. And the checkmate, we can say, is having actual intercourse. All right? What happens all up to that point, or before that point, that's where I want to be. Where I'm like, checkmate, I got you, bitch. That line just popped into my head. Gotcha, bitch. But yeah, the moment that I realize I've got her, it's almost like, okay, I'm not really all that enthused to like get in her pants. But I get another sort of impulse. Like imagine the person playing chess. It's 7 moves out from checkmate, and they go to tip over the king, and you stop them. You're like, no, you're not ending so quickly. And you spend the rest of the game toying with them. Okay, let's say it's against the rules to tip over the king, and they know that there's nothing they can do. They can't fight back. So you spend the next 10 minutes just toying with them, edging on that thing of like, I could kill you now. It's now 3 moves, and I'm just going to mess around a little bit. I'm going to toy with my food before eating it. And maybe I won't eat it. Maybe I will. I'm undecided. Like, being in that position is so much better. So much better than like, yeah, I got to fuck, right? Like, I want to be in the position of mental supremacy, where I've got her and I've not even touched her. Not yet. And now she's coming at me, basically wanting me to touch her. Okay? And now that comes into the subtle art of balance. Okay? Like I talked before about playing with cats. All right? If you got like the tinfoil ball and the piece of string, and if you fuck around in the right kind of way, you can play with the cat for quite a while. If you move the ball and string too quickly and it can't ever get it, it's like, fuck, the thing's moving too fast. Fuck it. I'm going to, eat a little bit and take a nap. Right. And if you're moving too slowly and you let them catch it, then they'll catch it, mess around a little bit, and then they're like, all right, I get what that's all about. I'm going to go take a nap. Right. It's about finding that middle zone where you're teasing, right? Tease and denial, where you're teasing out this play. And this is the best kind of gameplay, right? When they're talking about playing games, it's like, you're giving this woman the impression, yes, I'm interested in you. And you've gone into her mind and you've aroused her, piqued her interest, created desire, created lust, created anticipation. And then, if you take it too far, then she just falls off, loses interest. She's like, this guy's playing around. I'm never going to get him, right? He's playing games with me, right? But there's lots of ways where you can make them, understand that you're playing this edge, right? Without literally telling them like, I'm not trying to fuck with you. I'm trying to arouse you even more. You don't want to say that, right? Because that just kind of kills the narrative, all right? And then of course, like if you just jump right in, like that just kind of ends the story so quickly, right? You got to take your time with these things, okay? So that would be another thing, all right? If I could give a very concrete tip here, so the first one I said is to shift your mindset around sex as not a means of getting physical pleasure, but more so as a creative practice, okay? Not just a means to an end. And then the other useful tip is to slow the fuck down. Stop being in such a goddamn rush, okay? Slow things down and be observant. Be observant to see how you can tease her, right? And I don't mean tease her in the same way of like pulling her pigtails, but if you can get a sense of her interest, even if it's just a little bit, you just need a finger hold, like just enough. You see like rock climbers and you see them fucking hanging off a ledge and it's like just the very tips of their fingers. Bro, that's all you need. You just need a little finger hold to gain just a little bit of leverage. And if you pull too hard, your hand will slip off. Okay. If you don't pull enough, eventually you're just going to lose your grip and fall. It's pulling with the right amount of torque that you'll be able to have leverage. And this is a sensitivity skill that's just developed over time, which means you got to talk to a lot of women. Talk to a lot. On your dating apps, use the ones that allow you to communicate without a match, okay? Such as Hinge, right? You can leave comments. Bumble, you can leave comments. Facebook dating, you can leave comments. I don't know if like Coffee Meets Bagel or, any of these other ones. I know Tinder, you can't. You just basically have to wait for the woman to choose you, which is fucking weak. So, men, you should not be on Tinder, right? Because you basically just have to wait passively. You cannot take action. So don't use fucking Tinder. But you want to use apps where you have the ability to move. All right. You're not just some prisoner. Let me see. And talking to women in public. Take it upon yourself to chat it up with a lot of women. First, just get used to introducing yourself. Actually, first, just get used to saying hi. If you're really that far back, like just get used to saying hi. You're passing somebody, make eye contact and say hello. Wish them a good day, right? Leave a small compliment. Hey, I dig your hat. That color scarf is great on you. Really brings out your eyes. Just simple things in passing, all right? Then take the next step to introductions, right? Get used to that. Just get used to introducing yourself, right? With chit chat, you're waiting, you're waiting for the fucking bus, right? Just start shooting the shit. And say, oh hey, by the way, I'm Justin, right? No big deal. And you got to train your mind into understanding that it's no big deal, because it really isn't. There's nothing to actually fear. All the fears that guys have around this sort of thing, they're completely irrational fears. There's no actual rational fear, right? Except things that you've like absorbed from social media that takes you down this fucking long ass pathway of like, well, if we get married, she's just going to divorce me and take half my shit. And it's like, dude, you're fucking 25. You don't have anything. And you're just saying hi. It doesn't mean all that fucking shit. You're like trailing fucking years down the line, right? Like you're having one-itis about a girl that you haven't even met yet. And this is all just happening conceptually in their minds. This isn't like actually happening. So conceptually in their minds, they have one-itis about women. And say, well, if I get with them and we do this, we do that, and we get married, we have kids, and this, the divorce statistics, and then she'll, rape me in court. And it's like, bro, none of that is actually happening right now. You're sitting there alone in your apartment watching someone like my ass on YouTube. What are you doing? Like, look at the actual reality that you're in instead of projecting a phantom reality that you're not in. And if you want to change it, just change it. Do something about it. And stop making excuses as to reasons why you can't or why you shouldn't. Well, I would, but all these women are hoes out here. It's like, okay, but the only reason why you're saying that is because they're not choosing you. And you really wish they would choose you. But you kind of don't, because then that would mean they would have a body count. So where the fuck is your head? I swear, guys have like really lost their ability to fucking think. Like to think rationally. And they use fucking bullshit statistics to help them think rationally. When it's like, that's just a symptom of their irrational thinking. The rational thought is actually, I have no experience, I'm not good in bed, and I want to have experience, and I want to be good in bed. I would like to be able to talk to women. I want to be found desirable by women. Okay. How? And just create steps. If you don't know how, find someone like me or colleagues that I fuck with and get in touch and say, hey, how do I change my current state of affairs? What is a plan that I can put to action to actually change my life? So I stopped wasting my time watching people like Justin on YouTube. Okay? Like, I love being here. I love sharing information, but it's not actually going to change any of your lives. It's not going to do fuck all for you, because you're going to end this show and then go fucking watch Netflix or go fucking beat off. And that's it. And then you're going to go to work tomorrow and you're going to do the same thing. Oh, it's not going to be watching me, but it's going to be watching somebody else. You're not actually improving anything. You're just repeating the same bullshit over and over and over again. And then you're going to be like some of the guys that I work with who are like almost my age, like in their 40s, going, okay, I'm ready to get my shit together. How do I talk to women? I'm like, seriously? Why did you wait this long? Oh, I was busy working. No, you weren't, you pussy. You were scared. You were scared the entire time. Why? Why are you scared of women? What are you so afraid of? What is the worst that's possibly going to happen? Well, she's divorced and cheating and... No, you're sitting here alone with your dick in your hand. None of that is actually happening. And if you actually learn how to do this properly, those factors drop off drastically, because women don't cheat on men who are fucking them really well. Women don't divorce men who are fucking them really well. It just doesn't happen because of its rarity. When a woman feels, I can trust this man and he sends me into another fucking galaxy, and I can feel my heart and my mind and my body just relaxing and feeling like that one guy said in the chat, relieved of myself, and he's like, I got you, on like multiple levels. Do you think women are actually going to throw that away? Because I'll tell you right now, that's fucking rare. It's really, really rare. So it's not about being superior amongst men, okay? It's just becoming one of the rare. It's not about being the best. It's about being rare, becoming amongst the tribe of rare men, right? That's what this is about. And not for women's sake, obviously, okay? Because in order to get there, you have to make this shit all about yourself. Because that's where it all starts. You know, I got into a discussion with a client of mine, you know, about his life problems and shit like that, and things he was, you know, very, you know, focused on, and, oh, this is terrible, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I don't want to hear this one. So, and he very like self-focused on all of his problems, right? Like, people with depression are like super egocentric, like really egocentric. And I had to break it down to him that his depression is actually a result of his nice guy syndrome, which is a result of his relationship with his mother and codependency and developing this sense of needing to get validation from mom in order to feel of value. And then as he grows up, that archetype, that woman is no longer there, but the desire and that need, that manufactured need, is still present. And when that doesn't get fulfilled, and it gets to be like attempted to be fulfilled by other things, like buying cars, nice apartment, clothes, you know, this, that, and the other, it doesn't really do it. And then the depression just starts growing. The sadness starts growing more and more because you no longer have access to that drug. And then you start looking for women in life to fulfill that. Okay? And it just becomes this fucking convoluted circle. Really bad. Okay? So it's like all of this shit really just has to do with you. The great stuff, okay, where you see people like having this, having that, it's just a result It's not the aim. It's not the goal. And I know that's hard. Like if you're a young man and you're like, oh, I want experience, and that becomes a goal of yours, just know that it's not a true goal. It's a surface level goal, right? Which is fine to have, okay? Like I do think that guys should get experience, and you should let go of judging women, because you can't get experience without fucking women, which aids in their body count, okay? Unless you're trying to get your experience through prostitutes, which I guess you could do, all right? If you're like, okay, well, I want sexual experience, but I don't want to add to the, overall female body count in the population, I'll just go use a hooker. And that's, I don't know, that seems reasonable to me. Not a bad idea, okay? Actually, if you developed a relationship with like one particular hooker, like you could treat it as like, okay, I'm paying you not only just to get my rocks off, but you're going to help me become a better lover. That would actually be a really fine strategy, because now the money that you're paying isn't just like for pleasure. You're using it to get education. You're using it to use her, high level of experience and exposure to benefit you. Right. And you could be like, well, tell me how to do this. Tell me how to do that. I think that's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. I'm a genius. Yes. At least my girl thinks so. Yeah. Prospector, good to see you, man. Definitely glad to be able to join for a live show. Appreciate you pushing through even under the weather. Yeah. I'll get over it. Yeah, my girl gave me some like crazy Chinese pills and the sinus stuff. It's crazy. It's all this like herbal based, and like the nasal sprays that are supposed to like dissolve the shit and like open up the capillaries or whatever in your nose and allow your sinuses to open up and breathe. It does the same sort of thing, but it's herbal, and I swear it works like 10 times better. It's this crazy shit. Like, what's right here? Yeah, it's this shit here. I don't know. Well, yeah. Anyways, but yeah, Sanjin, and I can't read Chinese, so I don't know what the fuck this is. It's Sanjin Watermelon Frost Breath Freshener. Okay. But it's this brown powder, and it almost smells like mold. It almost smells like mold, but with like a little bit of mentholatum sort of tinge to it. And you just like put some powder like on your hand and snort it, and within minutes it's like completely clear. And it works way better than shit like from the pharmacy or the drugstore or whatever. So, all right. So we've been going for an hour 20. I think I've kicked this into the ground. But yeah, body count concerns are just ridiculous. I'm just trying to think of like the common shit that I've heard. So there's like increased infidelity, likelihood to divorce, right? That's another one. Guys bring up the old thing, like, well, back in the day, if a woman slept with a bunch of guys or a few guys, and she got pregnant, then they would never have a clear idea of who the father was. And it's like, well, that's, and then they use that as like a means of shaming women about having sex. And, once again, guys who are fucking don't care. All right. Only you lame ass motherfuckers are the ones who care. And the thing is that today, well, we have paternity tests. So that's out the window, right? It's no longer a concern. But I'm trying to think of like the regular shit, the stuff that I've heard of why they dislike it. But really, it's, I've heard, oh my God, yeah, the DNA shifting, fuck. Where there was this one I think like an accidental discovery where they found like a man's DNA inside the brain of a female cadaver or something like that. And I don't know how, but they determined it like came from sperm. And so guys are like, oh my God, when a guy comes in a woman, he's like changing her DNA, you know, and or like leaving his DNA in her. And it's like, okay, but that's like, what do you think? What's that going to do? Right? What is that going to fucking do? First of all, I don't think that your DNA can be altered like that. You know, that takes quite a bit of practice. You know, much like it took a long while, I think, for those vaccine manufacturers to figure out how to modify DNA with those COVID vaccines. So I don't think like some guy's, you know, meat milk is going to do that for her. But yeah, that was fucking weird. Oh, what's the other one? Pair bonding, right? Pair bonding. By the way, humans don't pair bond. We never have. It's not part of our mammal experience. There are mammals who do pair bond. Okay. And it's just part of like how they're wired, right? There are some animals that mate for life. They meet one and then that's it forever. Okay. Humans don't have this. We do not have a biological need to pair bond. Okay. So basically what that's suggesting is, well, if she's with a bunch of guys, that's going to reduce the likelihood that she's going to like me enough to stay with me. That's basically all that's saying. Okay. You know, again, you know, if you really want to like think about like pair bonding, like, well, what is that? It's like, well, a strong connection with a person such that you stay with them forever. Nothing's forever. Everything's impermanent. Okay. So just let go of forever and embrace impermanence and really embrace it. Relax into it. Like it's okay. Right. But pair bonding actually can happen. Very much so. All right, especially if you are wise enough and skilled enough to get inside a woman's head. Because like I said before, this is where a woman's sexuality lies. This is where she's at. This is her true sexual core is between her ears. If you can influence this, she will be bonded to you. Okay? Now, you can't just influence it once and then just be like one and done. All right? It doesn't work that way. Okay? You have to continually influence it. Right? Which means you have to continually show up. You have to show up in that way. Okay? And if this isn't something that you enjoy, then you might not be the type of guy, despite how you feel, okay? You might not just be the type of guy to do this, okay? Like there's plenty of people who feel like they want to be like a professional boxer, but it's a very few are actually have the desire, the drive, and the skill to become a professional boxer and maintain it. Okay, like have like a lengthy career, not like have a couple fights and be like, you know what, it's not for me, right? Like a career in that shit, right? Like you have to consider it sort of like that. Like a career in mental influence. It's a skill. It's not something that's innate to you. Like, well, long ago, like we didn't have to do this shit. It's like, you know what? Grow the fuck up. Get out of fantasy land. Stop complaining. Shut the fuck up. Get to work. If it's too hard, step aside. It's that simple. Stop complaining. Close your mouth. There's plenty of guys who are willing and able to do what's necessary. Okay? And the thing is that when you learn to influence minds, it's not just for women. Just women happen to be the most fun minds to influence. Well, for a heterosexual guy anyways. But the skill is transferable to just about anyone. Like once you understand how the mind works and what you can do with it, okay, and hopefully you have a decent mind, right, yourself, like you're not fucked up, you have a decent moral compass and things of that nature. You can actually use this to bring out the best in people. Okay. I tell my guys as I'm coaching them, I say, listen, this is actually a twofold practice, because as I'm coaching you, I'm also teaching you how to coach, because that's essentially what you turn into. Like when you're in relationship, you turn into a coach for women. So all the skills that I use to bring out the best in my guys, they learn those same skills to bring out the best in others. It could be their kids, a girlfriend, their wife, what have you. Okay? So it's transferable. All right. So I'm going to call it. This is good for me to get out of my sick mode. So I appreciate you guys being here with me. I'm going to relax and drink some tea. Drink some herbal tea, and hopefully that will loosen things up in my chest some more. All right. Until next time, I'm out of here.